Hello! In this video we're going to look at space and outer space and everything in between compared to the size of a map of not my territory. Now, one thing you may wonder is that this map basically is generated forever and ever, but maybe there's an edge, maybe there's a limit to how big this is. This is what we're going to explore. Now, one thing I should probably note is that this map is defined based on a center, which is exactly here, as it turns out. This is tile Q0R0, and the center of that tile is pixel 00. Now, one thing that I should note is that we are actually using the same seed for the random number generator every time we load the map, and we are actually picking a location randomly. But so you may wonder, in this map generated by this seed, how big is the map compared to the real world? So one thing that is pretty fun about this game is that it is based on web technologies, and so you can actually hack it. Let's start with setting the origin. So this window.origin is the top left pixel of the screen through which we see a part of the map. So right now we have set it to 00. It probably isn't 00 anymore. We have it to, minus 100, minus 100. Now, as a result, we can also go very far away. Oops. We'd like to go to the edge of the world. So, does that mean that there is an edge to the world? In a way, well, integers and numbers generally in a computer are limited by the number of bits that you use to store them in. In this case, especially in JavaScript, we are actually using floating point numbers instead of integers. Based on the JavaScript standard, there is a number that is the biggest number that we can represent as unique integers. And what that means is that, for example, you can notice that if you add 1 to this number, you're going to get the very same number. So integer arithmetic doesn't work anymore for any number bigger than this one. So let's go that far away. Far enough so that integer arithmetic stops the work. So pixel from tile Q equal to that number. We can leave R to 0, it doesn't really matter anyway. And this is just some information that the game needs to know. Now let's set window.origin to that far away. Window.origin is supposed to be in x0, y0, so we're going to set y0 to 0. It doesn't really matter anyway, because if you have seen my previous video, in hexagonal coordinates, Q is actually the direction from left to right. So for example, this can be Q0, well actually this is Q0. This is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and so on, and it goes towards the right forever. So let's go there. So let's paint this, and this is the edge of the world. As you can see, there are a couple of things that are pretty weird. For starters, the algorithm to randomize somewhat the orientation of every tile goes completely apart, and we have a lot of tiles with exactly the same orientation at the same spot. Another thing that we notice is that when we try to scroll, scrolling up and down is no problem at all, because we are still on the same line as the origin of the map. We're not at a corner, we are only at the edge. But scrolling left and right is very jittery and slightly hard. So another thing that we may notice, I'm going to use arrow keys because that works better. Another thing that we may notice is that when we try to select a specific tile, we actually get a different tile selected. So that doesn't work quite right. It's a client-side issue, sure, but it makes it very hard to use the game properly. We have to, for example here, I'm not sure I can select the middle square here. Anyway, so that is tricky. Another thing, you can probably notice that the terrain generation algorithm itself falls slightly apart. For example, the rainfall information that we get is no longer continuous. There are discontinuities at places. Anyway, so how big is this map exactly, considering this edge? So for starters, the size of a tile is designed to be about 50 meters side to side. So how big is this map from left to right? How big is the square of the map from, the left edge to the right edge and from the top edge to the bottom edge? Well, it's about 95.21 light years away. Let's compare the surface to something we know. So this is a comparison of the sizes of the different planets in the solar system. You can see the Earth right there. You have Neptune there, and Neptune is pretty interesting because Minecraft, which is another game which uses procedurally generated terrain, has a surface that is about the size of Neptune, so a lot bigger than Earth. Now there is another game that came to beta lately, a couple of weeks ago, which is called Goddess by Peter Molyneux, and he's proud to say that the size of his map is that of the surface of Jupiter. Now, how big is the size of a Not My Territory game? I'm going to show it in a red square. Well, yes, it's bigger than the Sun even. This is the cumulative surface of all the planets in the solar system and the Sun. And we're still not there. The map in Not My Territory is still bigger than that. So how can we compare it? Well, we'll look at the distance we have to travel from the left edge to the right edge. Is it bigger than the distance from the Sun to the closest star? Proxima Centauri, also known as Alpha Centauri C, I believe. And we're still not there. 4.22 light years away? No, 95 light years away. Let's look at the cloud we are in. If you look bigger, it turns out that we are inside a huge cloud of matter at about 0.3 atoms per centimeter cubed. In fact, the whole cloud in which we are contains as many atoms of matter as the number of atoms of air inside of the palm of your hand. We moved through the local cloud along the years, and we actually entered it 44,000 years ago. Back then the Earth looked like that, so as you can see, not so long ago, the cloud in question is not that big, and it's actually pretty close to another cloud that is called the G cloud, that is right there, and you can see Alpha Centauri right there. Well, Not My Territory has a bigger map than that. Let's look at bigger stuff. This is the local bubble. We are inside a void at pretty much something around 0.004 atoms per centimeter cubed, and surrounding us there is a huge bubble of matter which is called the local bubble. Well, finally we can compare it to the size of the map of Not My Territory. As you can see, Not My Territory has a huge map. Like I said, we are only taking a random location inside a map from a single seed of that map, and we start the game every time around that location, with every player a certain distance from each other. So this is an insight about how big the map is. I hope you liked it, and I hope you hack with the game too. Thanks very much, and see you next time.